Michael had it, Brady had it, Kobe had it. There's a crazy psychologically, you can call it, psycho competitor who counts the 55 kids ahead of him that were chosen as the best high school basketball player, and he's ranked number 56. And one by one, he targets every one of them until he takes them out. His name is Kobe Bryant. A formidable enemy is going to introduce you to a person you've not seen before. Most people will listen to this whole concept of choose your enemies wisely, and they'll say, that's hate. What a miserable life. What a this, what a that. No, most people chose the wrong enemies. The enemies they've chosen is about being entitled, is about being victims, about feeling sorry for themselves, and it's destroyed them, stolen years away from their lives. If you really want to tap into this enemy thing I'm talking about, don't do it if you're afraid and you want a very peaceful life. Because my recipe is not going to give you a peaceful life. My recipe is going to introduce you to the best side of you, not a peaceful life. And if it's a real enemy or something that drives you, you'll be introduced to a person you've never met before. I am more concerned about finding your why. I am more concerned about finding what moves you, what upsets you, who ticked you off, what comment was made. Grab a piece of paper, write down the most painful comments ever made to you by people that you loved or former colleagues, bosses, family. Just write it down. Quotation, this person said, "You will never make it in life without me." Boom, mom. Quotation, "You will never find somebody as good as me," period, ex-girlfriend. "You're a loser," comma, former coach. You write those down and then you read it. See how you feel after you read that. And go there. Nobody else is around. That produces emotion. If your vision is big, if you want to do something very, very big in your life, whatever that may be, you want your last name to be a strong legacy last name, you want to raise great kids, you want to compete not in the top 1%, but the top 0.1%. Great. You have to be naive to think you're not going to have enemies. Number one, it's absolutely impossible to compete at that level without having enemies. One night, my dad and I were at a Christmas party, and I'm 25, 26 years old, and one of the guys that my dad helped them out. This man says this to my dad in front of my face. My dad's my hero. He's the greatest man I've met in my life, and he's disrespecting my dad in front of me. I said, "I'm sorry, you don't talk to my dad like that." He said, "What do you mean?" "It's just a joke." "I don't like that joke." It wasn't anything bad. He didn't say anything that was out of the ordinary, but it did something to me. I said, "Dad, we're leaving." My dad's like, "No, we're not." I said, "I'm your ride. You're leaving." He says, "You're not going to embarrass me." I said, "I'm telling you, we're leaving. Okay? We're not staying here." At this point, I'm fuming. They think we're a joke just because you got a divorce and just because what? They got a degree? Bullshit. I'm not going to tolerate this. Let's go. The entire way back, we're fighting. And I told him, no one will ever talk to you like that ever again. Here's a promise I made my dad. At that time, I'm not making $6 figures. I'm making $50,000 a year. I said, "Dad, you're going to have to kill me." I said, "I'm going to make sure the world knows your last name. The world is going to know the last name, but David, it's over. I guarantee you the world's going to know your last name. The world's going to know what you did for this family." And by the way, 20 years later, that fire hasn't left. It ain't about the cars. It ain't about being a billionaire. It ain't about building a big media company. It's about I found an enemy that drove me. And if I choose it the right way, then I'm able to bring out a side of me I've never seen before. When you go up against somebody that shows up every flipping day where you sit there and say, "Take a damn week off. Go on vacation. Why don't you slow down for a day or a month or 2 months or 3 months? Please, let me catch up." And he or she says, "Come on down, baby." I'm at Dana White's office. I look at the door. I have the picture here. It says, "May God have mercy upon my enemies, because I won't. Fucking bet against me. Tell me it's not gonna happen. Tell me it's gonna fail. I love it. I love every minute of it." How's Dana White doing? Steve Jobs. His mother gave him for adoption. Are you kidding me? Like, you give me up for adoption? I'm freaking Steve Jobs. What does Steve Jobs do? Goes and builds a company that's a $3 trillion company today, where 58% of America uses a tool that he built, and He dies at 56 years old. What do you think drove that guy? What drove Kobe? What drove Michael? Haters highlight your weaknesses. And if you're smart, you're like, he makes a good point. Thank you for that feedback. Now I kick your ass because you pointed out my weakness. What a great consultant. We don't need a consulting firm. We just need to hire new haters. The individual has to evolve. Like, you have to also recreate yourself as you're going through this. The same enemy that drives you when you're 22 years old should not be driving you at 32 years old, or else you haven't matured. You should also out-mature that enemy. And then 32, something else should be driving you, then 42, then 58, then 63, then 75. You have no enemies, you say. My friend, the boast is poor. He who has mingled in the fray of duty that the brave endure must have made foes. If you have none, small is the work that you have done. You've hit no traitor on the hip. You've dashed no cup from the perjured lip. You've never turned the wrong to right. You've been a coward in the fight.